Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Sherrone Moore, this Michigan program, they got their quarterback coming out of the transfer portal and former Fresno State QB Mikey Keene. And look, as Michigan fans, we've talked about this a lot. It was going to be really hard to go grab a veteran quarterback that's played a lot of football to come in and join a quarterback room that includes a kid like Bryce Underwood. Miller Moss clearly didn't want to do it. Billy Edwards clearly didn't want to do it. I give Mikey Keene all the credit in the world for coming to Michigan knowing that he might not be the guy in 2025. And to me, as a Michigan fan, I look at this move and say, this is the ideal situation that a lot of us were looking for. Look, is the ceiling that high for Mikey Keene? Is Mikey Keene going to be a quarterback that wins you a Big Ten championship or a national championship? No, probably not. We weren't looking for a high ceiling quarterback in the transfer portal. We got our high ceiling quarterback in Bryce Underwood. What Michigan was looking for was a veteran presence that you can add to this quarterback room that elevates the floor of what this Michigan quarterback room is. And that's exactly what Mikey Keene brings to Michigan. In my opinion, Mikey Keene would have started all 12 games for Michigan in this fall. I think Mikey Keene's a very quality quarterback that's done some really good things out there at Fresno State, including a true freshman year at UCF with Chip Lindsey, which I think is an added bonus to adding a guy like Mikey Keene. Want to get into, a few quick storylines regarding Mikey Keene, what I think he brings to this quarterback room, talk about some other transfer portal updates that Michigan has in terms of some top targets that were on campus. Before we get into it, as always, to the Michigan fans, like as a Michigan fan myself, it has truly been a blast talking this program the last month and a half. The amount of support y'all have shown the boys has been absolutely amazing. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. More importantly, let it fly in the comment section. Would love to hear from you guys in terms of how we're feeling about Mikey Keene adding to this quarterback room. I look at the message boards. There's some fans that are frustrated with it, which I disagree with. And that's the beauty of talking college football. We can disagree about these things. But to me, I look at it and say, this was the perfect, the ideal ad. If you're a Michigan fan looking at our quarterback room in 2025. Now, getting into Mikey Keene, let's just start with what kind of quarterback Mikey Keene is, right? Shorter, on the shorter side of the quarterback position, 5'11", 200 pounds, really crafty, getting outside the pocket. A lot of Michigan fans remember watching this kid playing week one in the big house for Fresno State earlier this year. There were a lot of good things that Mikey Keene put on the tape. And you look at the overall career and say, one, this kid's played a lot of football. That's what we were looking for, number one, a veteran quarterback that's been around the block. Mikey Keene fits that bill. Has thrown for over 8,200 yards with a 68% completion percentage, 65 touchdowns to 28 interceptions. There's a reason programs like Ole Miss were interested in Mikey Keene too. Like, I think this kid can play and would have easily been the best quarterback on this roster in the 2024 season. So not only are you getting a really quality quarterback who when I stacked DeQuan Finn, Brandon Lewis, and Mikey Keene, I put Mikey Keene on the top. I think the most attractive reason for this addition is the familiarity he has with the Chip Lindsey offense. Go back to our conversation of what were we looking for in a quarterback that we were going to add in the transfer portal. Yes, a good quarterback that can come in and make this quarterback room better. That's first and foremost. I think you get that with Mikey Keene. But I think more importantly, you're getting a guy that is familiar with what Chip Lindsey wants to do. And the biggest conversation we had is, we want a good quarterback. We want a good quarterback that can benefit the development of Bryce Underwood. If Michigan goes and wins a national championship in 2025 or wins a national championship in 2026, with all due respect to Mikey Keene, love him for coming to Michigan, it's going to be with Bryce Underwood at the quarterback position and not Mikey Keene. And so one of the biggest conversations we had is what transfer portal quarterback makes the most sense, not only to make our quarterback room better, but can help develop Bryce Underwood. Mikey Keene, a guy that's played a lot of football and has familiarity with the Chip Lindsey offense. That, to me, it checks all the boxes in terms of what we're looking for. He's an accurate passer that can make some things happen outside the pocket, that's played a lot of football. Check, 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 check. All things we didn't have at the quarterback position for Michigan in 2024. This, to me, is the perfect addition. We knew it would be hard to add a quarterback a veteran quarterback to this room with a guy like Bryce Underwood. Michigan was able to go out and do it. Makes a ton of sense for me. Now, a couple other talking points that I think we got to talk about is one, and kind of a surprise name that we haven't necessarily talked about in former Wisconsin and UConn wide receiver Skylar Bell making his way to Michigan's campus this weekend. One thing I want to note, getting some of these top targets on campus this weekend was big because we're going into a dead period where there's no contact, no visits going to be happen. So if you want to land a commitment over the next couple of days, you probably wanted these kids on campus. Skylar Bell on campus. Now, I watched a little bit of Skylar Bell late last night when I heard he was on campus. I remember him briefly for his time at Wisconsin, put up some really nice numbers at UConn last year, right? Yeah, 783 yards. I think the number that I circled was 16.7 yards per catch. Very, very good number. What's the biggest thing we're looking for in adding wide receivers? We want guys can help manufacture explosive plays. Skylar Bell can do that. I don't think this is a bona fide wide receiver one, but it is certainly making our pass catches better heading into 2025. So I think Skylar Bell, and we'll do like a film deep dive on him if he does commit to Michigan. That's an intriguing name to watch if you're Michigan. Couple other names that I want to know, Emmanuel Carnley, a guy that we haven't talked a ton about. And to me, the boundary cornerback position is not a massive concern because I really do like what we have with Jair Hill. I really like what we have with some of these freshmen that are coming in. But maybe you wanted to add a guy that has some experience playing at the Power 4 level because it's going to be a relatively young cornerback room. Emmanuel Carnley could be that guy. You look at him, he hasn't not played a ton of football at Arizona, but is a guy that every program in the country wants to add to their roster. There's a reason he's the sixth best cornerback that's available in the transfer portal. Traits. You know, he's not a guy that has shown that he's going to be an All-American. Has not played like an All-American caliber cornerback yet in his career. Keep in mind, he was only a redshirt freshman in 2024. But this is a guy that clearly Michigan staff and a lot of other staffs across the country think they can add and immediately upgrade that boundary cornerback spot, which I think is important for Michigan for a couple of different reasons. One, we're talented at that position, but we're relatively young. You know, Jair Hill going into year 3. You got Shamari Earls coming in as a freshman. Josiah Edmond going into year 2. It's a talented cornerback room. We like some of those guys, but it's not a ton of experience. And you kind of want to probably kick Zeke Berry back to the nickel position. And adding a guy like Emmanuel Carnley not only probably upgrades your cornerback position, but allows Zeke Berry to play his ideal spot, which is playing that nickel role. I think this would make a lot of sense for Michigan. And the fact that he's taken his visits and hasn't committed, then got on campus in Ann Arbor, I would be keeping an eye on him. The next guy we got to talk about, big offensive tackle from Washington State, Falili Famo. Career right tackle that is getting day 3 grades as an NFL draft prospect. This is a guy that probably would be selected in the NFL draft had he wanted to declare, looking for one more year. A couple of things that stand out to me. One, kind of similar to the cornerback position. I like some of the young tackles, right? Evan Link showed some progression in the 2024 year. It was ugly early on for Evan Link in 2024. I thought got a lot better towards the end of 2024. So you're kind of feeling good about him going into year 3 in 2025. Feel really good about Andrew Sprague. Feel pretty dang good about a guy like Blake Frazier. Feel really good about Andrew Babaloa coming in as a true freshman, potentially Ty Haywood as well. But do you want to get a guy that's played a lot of football? That's kind of a plug-and-play tackle, which is very hard to find in the transfer portal. Falili would make a lot of sense. And a guy that I kind of just trust the staff. One thing Sherrone Moore has done a really good job of, even going back to when he was just the OC and offensive line coach, evaluating offensive linemen in the portal, bringing those guys in and getting good play out of them has been a strong suit for Sherrone Moore. You know, think about guys like Olu. Think about guys like Ladarius Henderson, Miles Hinton. Kind of trust that you land this guy, you're getting a plug-and-play tackle, which is hard to find in the transfer portal. Last one, we got to talk about Justice Haynes in it. Look, it visited Ole Miss. It sounds like Ole Miss is not going to be a contender. Visited South Carolina, but didn't commit to South Carolina, and then visited Michigan. And it sounds like it's kind of a 2-horse race between South Carolina and between Michigan. I know Ohio State's kind of pushing as well. This would be a difference maker. We talk about it all the time. building around Bryce Underwood, giving him the offense that allows him to have the most success as a young quarterback. The first conversation goes to pass catchers. Giving Bryce Underwood a good run game would certainly mean a lot. And we feel good about what the offensive line is going to be in 2025. Maybe some question marks at the running back spot, losing guys like Donovan Edwards and losing guys like Khalil Mullins. It's not that I don't have a ton of confidence in a guy like Jordan Marshall going into year 2 or Benjamin Hall going into year 3. I look at Justice Haynes and say that this kid's a difference maker at the running back position, and you don't want to say no to difference makers, especially when they're going to have a strong impact on a quarterback like Bryce Underwood. Give Bryce a good run game. You're probably going to get good play out of Bryce Underwood in 2025. We'll see how it works out. I think a really nice addition. And again, it's not going to make national media headlines, but for Michigan fans, we all knew that it was important to have a veteran quarterback. There's a really, really real chance that if we didn't land a veteran quarterback, we'd be rocking with Bryce Underwood and Jaden Davis. 2 talented quarterbacks that we feel damn good about, but that's our young quarterback room and not a lot of experience. Adding a guy like Mikey Keene, I think, makes us all feel a lot better about where we sit in the quarterback room. We'll sign out there. Appreciate you guys more than y'all know for rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.